Well, happy Christmas, everybody. Welcome to you all, just as you find yourselves today, with all your hopes, all your expectations, any excitement, joy, as well as any sadness or anxiety you may be feeling this morning, or poignant memories you may be carrying with you. We welcome the whole of ourselves today. And I just thought it would be nice if you were able to kind of call out here, Happy Christmas, loudly enough that the people on Zoom could hear you. What do you reckon? Okay, let's go for it. So, okay. Happy Christmas! I hope you heard that on Zoom. They're smiling as though they might have done. So, thank you. And so we are here this morning to celebrate Christmas one way or another, to share a part of this holy day together, and to hold this sacred space open, to maintain our own spiritual practice of Sunday morning worship together, and to hold a Unitarian witness in our city on this special day. Do come in. And most of all, we come here, as we always do, to create community, to reconnect with the divine, to open ourselves to the Spirit, and to enter in with heart and soul to the ultimate mystery of life, of love, of God. So I'm going to begin our service this morning in the customary way by lighting our chalice candle. And I know those of you at Zoom might like to light one with me now. May this flame be an invitation to embrace the spirit of Christmas. May its light lead us in this time of shared worship toward the holy, however we understand it. May the memory of this flame remain with us and continue to be our guiding light throughout this day and the days to come. So our service this morning will include a few carols and readings and prayer, and there will be time to light candles and music, of course, but no address as such. So I'm going to start by inviting you into a time of prayer. And the prayer I'm going to share with you has been written by Schade, and it's called We Are Seeking Christmas. O God, who moves among the stars of the cold, clear sky, whose voice whispers in the silence of falling snow, whose silence stills our hearts and leaves us wondering and waiting. We are seeking Christmas, searching in this season for a hidden door to a forgotten room in the house of our very being, where we can live the lives we're meant to live. We are searching for Christmas, seeking in this season to be finally persuaded that hope is not just a good idea, and that love is not naive, and that faith is not just the brave face we put on in a hopeless situation. Holy One, our fear is that you have left us alone here, but our hope is that you have in fact met us where we are, at an inn at the end of the world, that we might have assurance that you have lifted a lantern to light our path, so that we may follow your footsteps through the snow. Divine Spirit, grant us a measure of peace this Christmas. Fill us each with hope and good cheer. May every one of us be comforted by love, and in the joy and the tumult of this season, may you find a way to speak a word of encouragement and provide a moment of grace to every human heart. Amen. So part of our Unitarian belief is that there was not a one-off birth, not a one-off incarnation, but that each one of us is, a manifestation of the divine. And the first carol we're going to sing speaks to that idea. And it is number, does that say 97? It does. 97. It is in the green hymn books if anybody wants a green hymn book, but otherwise the words will be on the screen. And it's called The Universal Incarnation. So this morning I'm going to remind you of the story of the Nativity, but as told by a Unitarian Universalist, Lyn Gardner. And this is a way of looking at the Nativity that particularly focuses on its blessings. It was getting dark, and the weary travellers needed a place to sleep. It's almost 70 miles between Nazareth and Bethlehem, and Joseph and Mary were making the long journey that was required of them in order to pay taxes to the Roman Empire. It was a long journey for everyone, but Mary was feeling it more than some, as she was about to give birth. She was very tired. But there was a blessing. One of their neighbours in Nazareth had offered them a donkey for the ride. Kindness can make any journey a bit easier. The trip to Bethlehem wasn't the only journey they were on. Mary and Joseph were on that exciting and sometimes nerve-wracking journey some of you will be familiar with toward parenthood. And it had been 9 months since the angel Gabriel had appeared to Mary, asking if she would carry this child of God. "Here I am," she had said. "Let it be with me." And so Mary was pregnant. But there was another blessing. Her dear Joseph believed in her and had faith in her and had faith in God. Faith can help when times are confusing and difficult. And there in Bethlehem, this young couple was blessed with generosity, a place to stay. They were given space to rest until their baby was born. It wasn't fancy, but it was warm and it was safe. Out in the fields, there were shepherds watching over their sheep, and angels came. Now, shepherds may not always feel that they're very important. They might not always remember that they matter, especially when they're out in the field at night. But on that night, there was a blessing. The angels came and sang. And they not only felt hope hearing of the birth of this baby, but they also remembered, at least for that night, that they were each precious. And a new star rose in the heavens, telling of the birth of one who would bring a message of peace, one who would bring change, one who would be called a king. And far away, wise ones heard of this star. They went to King Herod to tell him that a new king had been born. Herod was jealous, afraid of what this threat might be to him, and so he sent them to find the baby. And though the stories say they travelled to find him, there was a blessing, because the wise ones felt compassion for this family. They recognized something special there, and they chose not to tell King Herod what they had seen. And as Jesus was held and rocked and fed and sung to, there was a blessing of love and wonder. There they were, all the people and animals gathered around a new baby, caring for him and for each other, resting in love. And over 2,000 years later, we still retell the story of Jesus' birth and of his life and teachings. And still there is a blessing. The possibility arises when we remember that we are all connected the possibility arises of a better world. When we choose kindness, faith, generosity, when we remember that each one of us matters. The possibility for a better world happens when we practice compassion and when we allow our hearts to be changed by love and wonder. This Christmas and every day, may you each be touched by such blessings and share them with those you meet. Story as told by Lyn Gardner. I'm going to invite you now to just pause for a little while to reflect on the blessings in your life at this time, whatever they may be, small, enormous. What are you grateful for at this time? May we give thanks today for all our blessings. Now, Herod was mentioned in that telling of the story. He was thwarted, but not without causing a great deal of harm, as I'm sure you know, that he still sent out his men to seek out newborn children, killing them in the hope that somehow he would also be killing the baby Jesus. And again, this is an opportunity just to pause and bring into our hearts and minds anyone we might be missing today, for whatever reason. Anyone who's unable to share Christmas with us at this time, we hold those dear souls in our hearts. So let's just take a pause. May those who are absent in physical presence with us this Christmas nevertheless be with us in spirit. The next reading comes from Howard Thurman, who was a Black American theologian and activist. And this reading comes from his book called The Inward Journey. So if Christmas, this is still me speaking, not him. If Christmas is about gratitude for our blessings and also acknowledgement of our sadnesses, I think it's also surely about the possibility of transcendence. Christmas is one of those times in which a space may be opened, a portal, if you like, in which we may be touched by or touch the divine. And so this reading by Howard Thurman addresses that. And he uses a word which I had never come across before, but I think it's quite a delightful word. You may know it. He uses the word freshet. So one or two of you are nodding in knowledge. In case you don't know what that means, I looked it up, and it is a great rise or overflowing of a stream caused by heavy rains or melted snow. So he uses it as in a kind of figurative way in what he says. But anyway, just to explain that word. And what he writes is this: there must be always remaining in every person's life some place for the singing of angels. Some place for that which is in itself breathlessly beautiful. And by an inherent prerogative, throwing all the rest of life into a new and creative relatedness. Something that gathers up in itself all the freshets of experience from drab and commonplace areas of living and glows in one bright light of penetrating beauty and meaning. Then passes. The commonplace is shot through with new glory. Old burdens become lighter. Deep and ancient wounds lose much of their old hurting. A crown is placed over our heads that for the rest of our lives we're trying to grow tall enough to wear. Despite all the crassness of life, despite all the hardness of life, despite all the harsh discords of life, life is saved by the singing of angels. Now, I'm not asking you to believe in angels, although you may do, or at least not literally, but angels may appear to us in many forms, in many ways, and often understood to be messengers from God, from spirit, from the universe. And may, as Howard Thurman describes, just penetrate, just cut through everything for a moment and just, like the clouds parting, show us, give us an experience of something transcendent, something more. So I'm going to invite you now to pause once more and just consider in your life if there's been a moment when you have felt that. It may not have been at Christmas, of course. It may have been at any time, but a moment of transcendence. And what at this season is breathlessly beautiful to you. So just take again a few moments for your own reflection. And now let's sing our third carol, which is In the Bleak Midwinter. We sang this carol to different words at our carol service. We used the words of Ralph Brown, our member who wrote his own words, which are lovely. But I thought today we might sing the original words by Christina Rossetti to the familiar Holst tune. So let's sing In the Bleak Midwinter. I love that carol, and to me it speaks of that last verse particularly, if our hearts are open. And the words are Christ is born again, but I understand that as love is born again, miracles are possible, light enters, the universe, the mystery of it all can enter in with those moments of grace and hope that transcend. So, as I said, I'm not doing an address today, but I would like to give you the opportunity to share. There are candles, and handily there are also matches. And this is an opportunity, if you would like to do so, to say something about what the day means to you, It might be connected to the reflections that we've done already. It might be something else. You might like to light a candle simply and not say anything. You might like to light a candle and say just a few words. Or you may like to do neither of those things and just sit and listen as other people share. So it's entirely up to you, but the space is there for you if you would like to share something this Christmas Day. And people on Zoom, I had really hoped that we would be able to hear you too. I don't think we're going to be able to, so I'm going to ask you to write in the chat box anything you would like to share that I can share with people here. So now let's just take a little pause and have some music. So just a moment of silence. Sheila spoke of turning points, and that leads me very nicely into the next reading, the last reading in fact, which is a poem by U A Fanthorpe. U A Fanthorpe used to write poems for, as some other people I know do, write poems for their friends, and she used to write a poem each Christmas, and some of them are funny and some of them are more serious, and BC:AD is one of my favourites, and I suppose it's a more serious one, but I think an inspiring one. And it goes like this. This was the moment when before turned into after, and the future's uninvented timekeepers presented arms. This was the moment when nothing happened. Only dull peace sprawled boringly over the earth. This was the moment when even energetic Romans could find nothing better to do than counting heads in remote provinces. And this was the moment when a few farm workers and 3 members of an obscure Persian sect walked haphazard by starlight straight into the kingdom of heaven. May it be a moment when we too walk, however haphazardly, by starlight into our own version of the kingdom of heaven. We had to sing, I think, this next hymn today. It's number 95, O Come All Ye Faithful, joyful and triumphant. Come and behold him, born this happy morning. You can only really sing it on Christmas Day. So let's sing, O come all ye faithful.
O come all ye faithful,
think that's a sign that the kettle's going on. It's always good to see. Delphine recently reminded me of Jan Richardson, who writes lovely blessings. And so I'm going to share a blessing. She calls it Where the Light Begins. And it's a blessing for Christmas Day. Somebody's calling to wish us happy Christmas, I'm sure. Nothing worse, is there, than trying to find the way to put your phone off. Can anyone help? Don't worry at all. It happens to us all. A blessing for Christmas Day. Perhaps it does not begin. Perhaps it is always. Perhaps it takes a lifetime to open our eyes, to learn to see what has forever shimmered in front of us. The luminous line of the map in the dark. The vigil flame in the house of the heart. The love so searing we cannot keep from singing, from crying out in testimony and praise. Perhaps this day will be the mountain over which the dawn breaks. Perhaps we will turn our face toward it, toward what has always been. Perhaps our eyes will finally open in ancient recognition, willingly dazzled, illuminated at last. Perhaps this day the light begins in us. I'm going to just share some words that were in a book, of a Unitarian book, which some of you know, called Fragments of Holiness. Robert Fulgham wrote in that Christmas is about a child of long ago and far away, and it is about the child of now in you and me, waiting behind the door of our hearts for something wonderful to happen. A child who is impractical, unrealistic, simple-minded, and terribly vulnerable to joy. May we all be terribly vulnerable to joy today.